Okay, so let's get to the topic here today. Okay, so today's topic, and I thought it was really interesting because I thought there's a lot of learning in this situation. So today's topic is how my student got 100% on her physics exam without ever taking a physics class before. So this is was interesting to me because um, number one, it sounds impossible. It's like, how is that even possible? Like, physics is not an easy course, and how can somebody get 100% on an exam if they've never even taken physics before? So that's actually why I created this title, because I was hoping to get your attention. And although it's true, what I think is more important is the process behind how this thing happened. So by going through today's talk, what's going to happen is you're going to understand that when you learn how to use your mind in a very different way, you can get amazing results. Okay. And just so you know, this student who got 100% on her physics exam was not like a natural genius. She's just like the rest of us. Okay. She's not one of those super genius types that just reads it once and has a photographic memory. It's not like that. She's just like all of us. Okay. So the point that I'm trying to make here is if you learn how to use your mind differently, you can get amazing results. Okay. And this is a really, really good example in terms of how you can achieve things that even seem impossible. And just to give you an idea, I've actually worked with a student who had a brain virus when she was younger, and no one gave her a chance to do anything in life. And I worked with her for a little while, and she just scored A's on all her exams. And she was originally supposed to be in the course for disabled individuals or accessibility, people who had special needs. And she killed it. And she ended up getting into the top school in Toronto for her education program. I myself was put on academic probation when I was in my third year of university. Those of you who know my story, very difficult time for me, but somehow by learning this material that I'm sharing with you, I ended up getting a 4.0 GPA, 3 degrees, went to McGill University, got a 4.0 there in my final year as my undergrad. And then everything changed, and I ended up being a university instructor, becoming an author, a TEDx speaker, all this stuff, all because I've really understood how to use the mind. Another example that I wanted to share with you was I had a family member, and she ended up getting very, very sick, and she was in first year medical school. And this individual missed about a month of classes because of her illness. But as soon as we ended up working and supporting her, she ended up being on the honor roll that year. In fact, I think she made the dean's list that year, even though she missed a month of classes. So very important that you understand these things, because once you understand how your mind can do amazing things, you will never be able to doubt what you can achieve in life. Okay. The key, though, is that you want to be able to work with somebody who actually knows how to use your mind effectively, because your mind can be your best friend, but it can also be your worst enemy. Okay. And so it's very important that you understand how this works. Okay. So by me sharing these examples, hopefully you'll be more motivated in terms of how you can actually use your mind better to get really good results. So, one thing I wanted to mention was that in my situation, not only was I able to do, remarkably, how do I put it? Not only was I able to surprise myself by doing really well, the benefits still keep coming. Like, it's amazing. Like, I was just invited to do a talk. For those of you who are in Toronto, I'm going to be in Toronto in September. And on the 24th, I'm invited to do a talk on a topic called reframing success. And the benefits keep coming. And the reason for this is because of the principles that I'm showing you. Like, they're really, really sound principles, and they've been proven to work over and over again. Okay. So if you're in Toronto on the 24th, look me up, send me a message, and hopefully we can meet up. All right. Okay, so let's get to the main topic here. So I just want to give you a little bit of a context in terms of how this student was able to get 100% on a physics exam without ever taking physics. This student is under tremendous pressure to do well because, like the most of us, she kind of followed the crowd and she kind of did what most students do. And she really didn't have any idea how to study effectively. And not only that, but it's not really her fault because really 95% of students, they don't know how to study, period. And I know this because I'm in my classroom at the university and I get people to put up their hand and I ask them, how many of you know how to study effectively? I'm lucky if maybe one or two hands go up. Okay, so the majority of us, think about it, we spent over 12 years in our education system, but no one has ever shown us how to study. So imagine it's like starting a job, but no one tells you how to do the job. So if you're going to go in sales, they're going to be like, okay, we'll just sell. Or if you're going to go into, I don't know, let's say you're an athlete. Okay, so like imagine going to play hockey, but no one's ever taught you how to skate, right? Or shoot a hockey puck, right? Or you're going to go play tennis and they give you a racket, but they've never shown you how to actually swing the racket. So very similar to a lot of students. So she was, just like everybody else, just like us, not her fault. And like most students, lots of distractions, lots of things competing for our time, her time. And also, like, again, most students not really clear on what she wanted to do. And again, no fault of her own because most of us are in this situation. So what did we do here? How did we help her do this? I will say that I really didn't do much, to be honest. Okay, so a lot of the credit goes to the student. I really didn't do much, but what we really tried to harp on was that before any action is taken, like number one, you have to get clear on the goal. So she was extremely, extremely clear on her goal. And number two is we got to make sure the mindset is good. So what we did was we really spent time trying to instill in her brain that anything is possible. Okay. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of doubt in the sense that, look, I have to take this physics course and physics is supposed to be really, really tough, but, I've never done it before. So what we have to do is we have to actually change that perspective. And so a simple thing that you can do is just to understand that, look, if you're going to have to take a really difficult course, just remember one thing, okay, that the course that you're taking has probably been taught to hundreds, thousands, if not millions of previous students. Okay. Physics, for example, millions of students have taken physics. And out of those millions of people, thousands of students have done well. So what do they do that makes them do well? How do they think? How do they perceive these questions? How do they perceive this, the course? And once you can get in that type of mindset, all of a sudden you can start implementing what they did. And I know when I was in school, and I'm going off topic here, but I know when I was in school, everybody told me that physics was brutal, it was challenging, it was difficult. But that was the highest score I got in all the sciences. And the reason I was able to do decent, I didn't do well in bio too well. I didn't do too good or too well in bio. Chemistry was kind of hit and miss for me, but physics I did well because I realized that there was a system, there was a process that I could follow. And if I followed consistently, I would do well. And I got a lot of thrill out of doing that. So I was able to do well in physics, but the key here is that the mind has to be, how do I put it? The mind has to be fertile and it has to be primed before you take action. So this is what we did. And so she really was good. She really took whatever we said into detail, and she started really reflecting and understanding that anything is possible. And what ended up happening was she started to let go of her doubt a little bit. And a really good perspective to have is that your mindset is like the engine of a car. So, you may know where your destination is, and you may even have a really good map. And most people, what they do is they rely on the map, but the map is not the engine. And so if you have a good engine, then even with a lousy map, you can still get to your destination, even if it takes longer. In fact, if you have a good engine or a good mindset, it's even more fun. Like imagine if you had to drive a Ferrari. Okay, I would take the long way every time just because I get to spend more time in the Ferrari. Well, that's what it's like when you have a really good mindset. When you have a challenge, it's more fun. So what happened was, I believe she started to sort of develop a better mindset. Her doubt went away. And she realized that whatever shot she had, she would never be able to get there if she continue to think how she was thinking. And what ended up happening was that she kind of let go of some of her old beliefs. And then when the belief is there that anything is possible and things can happen, all of a sudden the mind kind of like goes, I'm going to go to the Ferrari example, it kind of goes to that next level. So you could be driving, let's say in first gear, and all of a sudden your belief system gets better. All of a sudden now you start getting fourth, fifth, or even sixth gear, which means that you start getting exceptionally good results with less time and effort. Okay. And this happens when you start using your mind in a very, very different way. Okay. So what ends up happening was and I was not even around, but she tells me that she needed to take this placement exam in physics. And as a result of that, if she couldn't complete this physics exam, she couldn't get into her program. So they gave her 2 weeks to do it. But the problem is in 2 weeks, the class could be full. So what does she do? She actually learns it in less than a week. And it was amazing. She ended up getting 100%. And what was really interesting is that I haven't told her this, but I can actually see her personality even start to get better. Like now when she talks, she's more confident. There's more substance in her conversation, in the sense that there's more courage in there. Like she says what she feels, and her confidence is growing. And it's because her mindset is actually getting better. So this mindset thing is not just about school. It'll actually help you in all areas of your life. And like I said, I wasn't around when I found out she had to take this placement exam. But what she did was she realized that, and her and I were talking about this, is that she has access to resources around her. So what she did was not only did she have the belief that anything is possible, her mindset actually helped her determine what resources she could use. So as a result, she started to use really good resources. And this was an online exam, and she had to, submit it before a certain date. And she just used her resources really, really well. Like she talked to students who had previously written this exam. She did some searching online. She had people review her response before she submitted it. And it just worked out. And the key here is that it sounds so easy in terms of what I just said. Like, yeah, you just do the questions, get somebody to review it, and then after they review it, then you submit it. It sounds so easy. The problem is it only sounds easy after it's done. When you're in the middle of it and you're freaking out because you got to get this thing done and you got to do well, it doesn't come that easy. So that's why the mindset is really, really important. And a lot of times, and I'm assuming most of you can agree with me, and that is, if you've ever taken an exam, when you're actually writing the exam, it's like challenging, it's difficult, you can't think through it. And all of a sudden, when you go back and let's say as a class, you review the questions, you're like, oh, it was so easy. Why did I overthink it? Okay, so this is very common. And so what you want to do here is that the reason why you overthought it was because your mindset wasn't at an optimum level. So it's very important to understand that when your mindset is at an optimum level, even things that are impossible will come to you. I mean, I was listening to a story the other day, and I forget where I heard this. There was a student, and he was not good in math at all. And anyhow, in fact, he didn't like school. In fact, he was in math class and he fell asleep. And what ended up happening was, just before the class was over, he woke up and he looked up and he saw an equation on the board. And he wrote down the equation. And he just assumed that was his homework for next week, or for the next class. So what he did was he went home and he worked on it all night, and he came up with the answer, and he submitted it, and he went back to his desk and everything. Well, what was interesting was that question that he responded was an unsolvable math question. No one in the history had ever solved that math question before. But because the student didn't know that, and the student's mindset was like, I have to get it done, he was able to figure it out. And he actually solved an unsolvable math question. So this is what the mind can do when you know how to use it properly and you know how to use it effectively. Okay, so let me just see if there's anything else here. Yeah, one other thing is that she was in the same position with her math exam, and she scored 100% on her math exam too. Okay, so this is really cool stuff here. And again, the key point I'm trying to make here is that none of this could have happened if the mindset wasn't prepared and wasn't ready. Okay, so this is why it's very, very important. And what I would always recommend you to do is that, your mind is probably the most valuable possession we have here. But unfortunately, a lot of us don't use it to its full capacity. So a lot of people, what they do is I know in college, for example, it's the time to party, and you want to have a good time and all this kind of stuff. But a lot of times people, they drink a lot at university and things like that. And so what ends up happening is you're kind of destroying your mind. And yeah, it's fun and all that stuff, but you only got one mind. And if you're going to do dumb stuff with your mind, you're going to pay the price later on. But because most of you are younger and you haven't really, made too many bad decisions, you can rectify your situation. So if you start using your mind correctly now, holy smokes, you would be able to achieve anything in life. The problem is many of us have not been taught how to use it. And in fact, many of us have been shown how to actually destroy our brain cells. Okay, so very important point for me to make. So an example is, you may not think it's possible for you to do well in school. You may not think it's possible for you to get into a program that you want. You may not think it's possible for you to get a certain grade that you want to get. But it's only impossible if you're doing it with the current mindset that you have. Okay, what you want to do is you want to understand that if you can start thinking at a different level, you get different results. Take, for example, you look at the athletes in the world, right? They're the best athletes in the world. And somehow they keep on getting better and better. And why does this happen? It's because they have a great team around them. So they have their coaches with them, they have trainers with them, they have psychologists with them, but they're already good. So why do they invest in all these coaches and trainers and psychologists? They're already good. It's like you being a student. You might be good, but why would you need all these things? Well, you need all these other people around you to be part of your team. And when you have that team, you create an environment of success. So what happens is you can achieve your goals much faster. You can do it with less stress, less anxiety, and then you also have people to keep you accountable. Okay, so very important to understand this, because what I find very interesting is that they have a lot of coaches and mentors for executives or for athletes, but students, when their entire future resides on school, they don't have anyone. What do they have? They have parents which try their best. They have tutors. Other than that, what do they have? Nothing. Whereas you got athletes who are getting, get access to all the best, all the best things in the world, best facilities in the world. And really, a sport is a form of entertainment. But if you do well in school, you can actually change our future. You can actually change our world. But you don't have enough support here to do that. So this is why I kind of created my business, and this is why I'm here. And this is why I think if we work together, not only could you do well, but you allow me to actually do something that I'm really passionate about, but you could actually change our world in the next, few years. Okay. And this is also another reason why I've actually decided to work with younger kids as well. Not kids in elementary, but younger kids, because if they start learning these principles now, they can start to really fly when they start getting into high school and at the post-secondary level. Okay, let's see here. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for that. I just wanted to kind of summarize that in a nutshell, that look, if you have the right mindset, anything is possible. Even the impossible becomes possible. Can I give you a lot of examples? And I told you about the student with the disability. She ended up getting into top program in Toronto. I told you about myself. I was on academic probation. I ended up getting 3 degrees. My family member who was very, very sick and ends up getting on the dean's list. And there's numerous examples. I had one student who was going to go into interior design because she couldn't get the grades that she wanted. She wasn't getting grades above, I think, 60% in math. She ends up following these principles. She got admitted into medical school. Okay. And these are numerous examples, okay, that I can share with you. She didn't decide to do it because it wasn't her passion. and she got more clear on her definition of success. So she ended up doing something very different. I think she's very happy with it. So the key here is that if you have the right mindset and a better belief system, you can reach new levels in all areas of your life. You can do things that you didn't even think were possible. And another thing is that when you are able to use your mind in a different way, in a more effective way, remember, it's like the engine of a car, okay? And always think of like driving a beat up truck, which is a broken engine. Even if you have a great map, it doesn't mean you're going to get there, because as soon as you hit an obstacle, you could just break down. Okay, but now imagine if you had that Ferrari mindset. Even if you hit an obstacle, even if you take the long way, it's still going to be a fun ride. In fact, you're going to be disappointed when you get out of the Ferrari because it was so much fun. In fact, funny story, I remember once I got bumped up to business class when I was flying from Dubai to Canada. And it was on the Emirates airline. And I get there and I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. But before, I was dreading that flight. There must have been like 300 people on the flight. It was crowded, and somehow I got bumped up to business class. And all of a sudden my mindset shifted, and I sit there and they gave me this, like, it's already comfortable. Like the seat is already comfortable. They gave me this extra mattress to sit on. The TV is like 30 inches. The food is nonstop. The drinks are nonstop. So I had a cold. So I remember telling the waitress, I'm like, you see this tea that you sent me? And she's like, yeah. I said, it's got honey and it's got lemon in there. And she goes, yeah. So I said, as soon as you see it's empty, as soon as you see that it's empty, just refill it. So that's all I told her. And that's all she did the whole trip. She just kept on refilling that tea for me. And literally that was a 14-hour flight and I was disappointed. It was so short. So this is what I'm trying to explain to you, right? When you have the right mindset, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And everything just seems better. Okay. So I wanted to share that with you. And that's it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to go on Facebook and I'm just going to see if there's any questions or any comments or anything like that. If anybody's watching, I know the time is a bit different, but let's take a look here. Okay, I don't see anybody here. Okay, so yeah, so no problem. I think we're good. If you do have a question, you can type it in and I can respond to it. If not, then that's okay. If you watch this later, then just type in the question and I'll get a chance to respond. Okay. All right. Take care, guys. We'll talk to you soon and have a great day. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.